Hey
Hey
there,
there.
everyone. I am Charlie, the British boy,
I'm Wes, the American one, normal one,
and we're Power
and we're
Now
the Power.
Duo.
That was extremely unorganized. We'll work on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to be the trio, and now we're a duo. So it doesn't quite have the same snappiness of the name, but we used to have Jack slash Ram
Yeah, we could
on the
work on the name.
podcast. And we'd love to have him back, but he has a bunch of stuff going on in his personal life, and
And we all have, and
with
I guess
school and
that's why
stuff.
the podcast there's been such a gap between this and the last one.
Yeah,
It's
that's
literally
not going
been
to be a
like,
normal thing. It's not every 7 months,
yeah, we
hopefully.
promise.
Um,
Because hopefully now I want to be able to get back. I want to be able to get back onto this. I don't know about you, but
yeah, like I don't know exactly the,
just every
time
now and
cycle we'll
then.
do. Maybe like every other week or something. That'd be good.
Yeah. But
I don't know
anyway,
why we chose to start it on a Wednesday, but
yeah.
we'll,
Oh well.
we'll get it. We'll get a time slot going eventually.
Yeah.
But so it's the duo now, and hopefully in the future we'll usually have some kind of guest on, maybe kind of a revolving door sort of lineup.
Yeah.
Uh,
But anyway, today's
but
topic, we've got doing the 2019 checkpoint, as it were, where, well, we're a month over halfway, but we're sort of going to go over what's been released this year and what is going to be released this year. Now, we're going to start with what has been to begin with.
Yeah. So, do you want to? What do you want to do? You want to work through it like kind of chronologically, like
Yeah,
go
if we're going
January through, or do you want to like
chronologically,
just kind
then
of?
it's got to start with Deer Hunter.
Yeah, that was sort of the first.
That was January.
Yeah, that was the first kind of. I don't want to say legitimate release, but the first one that was really on
The first
my
legitimate
radar.
release. Everyone else is just a phony. Deer Hunter's where it's at.
Real music. No. It was the first like thing I'd listened to from a band I'd heard of.
Yeah.
I was desperate to log in some ratings, but no. Deer Hunter was the first thing I was kind of excited for that came out.
Yeah, so why
And
hasn't
yeah, it was a.
everything already
Why hasn't
disappeared?
everything already disappeared? Is the name of the record, and it's at January. I want to say 18th.
Yeah, I think it was 18th, I read that.
And yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid record. To be honest, it was a good start to indie in the year.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think it's their longest gap between records as well. It was like 4 years
4
between
years.
this and Fading Frontier.
Yeah, which is surprising because it's not a long record or anything.
Oh no, it's
like
over in
5
a
minutes.
snap, like yeah. Just
Yeah,
over the half an
it's
hour.
very brief, short and sweet kind of record. But yeah, like I said, I liked it. I think it's
No, it's got some good stuff. It's got some segues in it because it sort of jumps about genre wise.
yeah, it's I would say it's most what's the term you could use? Maybe Baroque pop. There's some
Yeah.
kind of there's a lot of strings to it.
Like
Uh,
the first track sort of lulls you in with like you think it's going to be almost folky, but then that immediately like right turns after like 2 tracks.
yeah, it's I would say it's got this atmosphere to it that I really liked when I first
Yeah,
listened
I think
to it.
the album
It
cover
kind of pulls you in.
complements
It's
the
not
atmosphere.
intense or anything, but it's got a sort of mystique to it that I think is really
Yeah.
it gives it its own personality that sort of gives it its own place in Deer Hunter's catalog.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I said, I feel like the album cover is reflects the mood almost. Because
Yeah, it does that well.
I mean, I've got it on vinyl, and I still can't figure out what the image in the cover is. It looks like some sort
Yeah,
of flood or something, like destroying a town.
it looks like it's like kind of this rustic lake image almost.
I mean, I can't
I don't
figure it
know.
out, even with the blown up image.
Yeah, pull it up. But anyways, I think it's kind of that whole album has sort of this rustic vibe to it. This
Yeah, definitely.
almost very nostalgic. That's something that's kind of a trend for Deer Hunter. They kind of have a very nostalgic vibe to a lot of their music, especially on Halcyon Digest, which is that's kind of the concept of that one album.
Yeah.
And yeah, that continues here. I think it's got that sort of that sound to it. And it's a bit of a melancholy, but it's not a sad record, I would say.
Yeah, because I noticed from a lot of the lyrics seems to be about like death almost, especially on like what happens to people.
Yeah.
That one's sort of like about life going on and then people like disappearing, you know?
Yeah, not necessarily like dying, but like kind of
moving apart,
go in and out of your life. Like, you know, you might be friends with a person for 5 years and then you just kind of lose touch.
Yeah. I've had that happen and it's sad, but
yeah, it happens, so it's a good song topic. That's actually probably my favorite on the record. I really like, the opening. It sings the title and it's got those nice keys.
Yeah,
it's a very classic Deer Hunter tune, and it immediately clicked with me. I was like, okay, yeah, this is for me.
Yeah, highlights for me: Death in Midsummer, which is the opener, What Happens to People, and the small 2-minute instrumental Greenpoint Gothic I quite enjoyed as well. Because of the synths. The synths make that song.
Yeah. That's, but the other one that's not... it's not an instrumental, but there's not a hook or melody to it, is the Détournement, which I would say is kind of a...
that's the spoken word one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it sounds like they've put the spoken word. It sounds like he's talking through a fan blade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very.
Like it's that distortion.
I would say that's maybe the closest thing to a real misstep on the record. I think it's kind of a It's odd.
Detour,
if you'll excuse the sort of wordplay there. I don't know what I'm talking about, but. No, not the biggest fan of that one. Certainly doesn't stand alone. Like, you couldn't put that on a playlist and play it for your friends. Put it in the car. They'd look at you funny.
Yeah.
Certainly. It does sort of have a place on the record, but still not a huge fan of that one. But, like we said, it's solid.
It's a good one.
It's nothing... I was talking to you earlier. I think Deer Hunter are a band that have very much probably peaked already.
Yeah, Halcyon Digest was the peak, and I think most people agree with that.
That was very much their sort of... I don't want to say breakthrough, because they're not a big band or anything.
Yeah, they're not.
That's sort of the critical darling. That's the one that a lot of people hold on to. And even before that, they had Microcastle and Weird Era continued.
Yeah.
I don't you could say continued or not. And I love both of those too. But I think they're still putting out quality music.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see where they go next as well.
It's still very much enjoyable, and if it fell over there, hopefully it wasn't important. But I would say that they've found their groove and their niche, and they're kind of sticking in it, which is at this point, 7 records into your career, there's no shame in that. That's
exactly.
It's a good place to be. They've got their audience, and they're just kind of trying to keep it, which is for how old is Bradford Cox? He's got to be closing in on 40.
Yeah, he looks.
Once you're kind of out of that, golden years of creativity, as long as you can just put out quality music and stuff, that's great.
Then you're safe.
I think, at this point in Deer Hunter's career, no one's expecting them to create the next big revolutionary touchstone of indie music.
Yeah.
So, I'm always happy to hear from them, and this record's no different. Continues that trend.
Yeah. Now,
Deer Hunter 2010s.
Now, with the next part of the year, I haven't been very good with music listening, so up until April, I didn't listen to any new releases. So I don't know if there's anything.
What about Dream Theater? That was February.
That was April. Oh no, it was February. Yeah, shit. I'm messing myself around here. April was something else. No, yeah,
Yeah,
Dream
'cause I,
Theater.
I remember listening to it. I was actually out of town for a concert towards the end of February, and
Yeah.
the album came out, and I was listening to it.
I'm
in the
interested to
downtime.
hear your thoughts, prog hater.
I don't know. Dream Theater are.
Well, have you dived into any of their other albums at all?
I've heard. What's the first? It's image. Is it Images and Words? Is the title?
Images and Words is
I've heard-
like the famous one.
Yeah, I've heard that one. That one's okay, and I've heard Metropolis Part 2, which I thought was good.
Metropolis Part 2 is one of my 10s,
Mhm.
honestly.
Yeah, and so yeah, I guess me saying it's pretty good.
You just don't understand prog,
blasphemous.
man.
No, I like my King Crimson, but I think Dream Theater are kind of that quintessential like modern idea of a prog rock, prog metal band.
Yeah,
with,
definitely.
The very nasal vocals, and I kind of describe their synths as kind of that cheesy, almost fake organ sound that they have going. And it's definitely it's a sound. It's distinctive. You're not going to listen to a Dream Theater album and think you're listening to anyone else.
Yeah, it's this album was Distance Over Time. It's
we haven't even said the title.
Yeah, it's a strange one in their catalog in that it's the first album of theirs that's under 1 hour long since Images and Words, I think. And Images and Words was their second album. This is their 14th, so they've been going over 1 hour for a long ass time. But this time they decided to like trim it down a little bit, trim off some of the fat, and I think it worked in their favor because it does feel a bit more concise and to the point, and they don't spend as much time like noodling around instrumentally.
Yeah, I could see that. I would again, I gave my thoughts on the other Dream Theater albums I've heard, not on this one. I didn't give it a ton of listens. I think I listened to it maybe 2 times, and it's it's fine. It's again one of those cases. It's not an album. It's not really in a genre that I personally am a huge fan of. But there's some stuff that I could dig. I think it was the lead single. It's one of the shorter tracks.
Untethered Angel.
It had a good melody to it that I enjoyed. I thought it was that was a good track. And nothing on the album stood out to me as particularly bad. It was just
I think they got the classic Dream Theater one in At Wit's End, which is the longest song on the album at 9 minutes. But also, again, I think now I don't 100% know. I think it's since Images and Words. This is the first Dream Theater album since then that's had no songs over 10 minutes.
Right.
Oh no, it's not that. It's it's their third album ever that's had that, because their first album, then the one before this one, The Astonishing, didn't have any over 10 minutes, and then this one.
Yeah.
So 3 out of 11 have no 10-minute songs. But At Wit's End is where it's at, and to be honest, it's got everything in it that people come to Dream Theater for. So if you haven't checked out the album and you love Dream Theater, I'd suggest just going to that track, because I feel like some of the earlier tracks on the album might push a few people off because they're a bit more commercialized.
Yeah, I think it's there was nothing that stood out to me as like, if you really like Dream Theater, you'll probably dig this album too.
Yeah,
it's pretty it's a very Dream Theater record. I think it's a
and also an interesting.
They don't necessarily play it safe, but they you know what you're getting into with a Dream Theater album, and that's what you get on Distance Over Time. Is that the title?
And and also there was a point with this album that I sort of wanted to segue into, which was that you talked about you've heard Images and Words.
Right.
Now they did a tour for I don't know how many years, like 20 years of Images and Words, and played it. And when they played this tour, it inspired a lot of the writing for Distance Over Time. So they actually got inspired by like one of their quintessential albums, if you will, to create a new one along the same vein, which is why it's under an hour, like Images and Words is. It's got like same sort of thing going on. Now, I thought that was interesting. Like, is that a thing other bands should do? Like, take inspiration from older work if they feel inspired by it?
I don't know. I know that bands will do that. They'll tour like an older record for the anniversary. Like Manic Street Preachers did that for the Holy Bible,
and they did it for Everything
Queens of the Stone Age did it for their first record.
Oh, did they? I didn't know that.
I think they did it when, like, for its 15th anniversary. They did a tour for the self-titled.
Yeah.
That would have been what, like 2013? No, that doesn't make sense because they would have been. I don't know. Maybe they just reissued the record at a random time and toured for it.
Yeah.
Shows. Josh Homme, hard to pin down. I'm trying to think of other bands that have done that. I think Interpol did it for Turn on the Bright Lights. Bands know, if they're self-aware, they know that they have favorites in their catalog or touchstones. So I think it's it can't be that uncommon of a practice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think... Yeah. Oh, sorry.
As far as taking inspiration, I can't think of a specific other example.
Yeah.
If you want to yell at us or shout something that you thought of,
I mean, like you mentioned,
feel free.
Whereas I think Manic Street Preachers, like they were touring for Holy Bible, they did it for Everything Must Go as well, and I think some of that might have shined through into Resistance is Futile, their most recent album. Because listening to that, I do feel a bit of Everything Must Go in there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of their more accessible. It's very immediate, that record was.
But the next thing I wanted to go on to, we're going to deviate from the path of rock slightly. We're going to talk about a pop album this year. Now, any people watching this who know me know that I'm not a pop person at all. I am rock-centric. Like...
Don't even get him started on hip-hop.
Or
we'll make a Kanye fan out of you yet.
Maybe. We'll see. But
there'll be like a character arc over the course of this podcast.
Where I just end up loving Kanye West as much as Ram.
Oh my goodness. It'd be glorious.
But no, this year something unexpected happened where a pop artist merged and released an album that I liked.
Yeah.
So, Billie Eilish?
Ariana Grande?
Eilish? How do you say it?
It's Eilish.
Eilish. I've been saying it as Eilish this whole time.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people joke, like, Billie Eyelash.
There you go. But yes.
She was actually on my radar before she blew up because a friend of ours, Anami now, goes by the name Regent.
My fellow Brit.
A fan of her EP from last year.
Yeah, I didn't know she had EPs or anything. I just found out about her from the album, which is...
The singles.
When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? Is that the album?
Yes,
yeah.
That's the title.
With a cool album cover as well, may I add. I quite like it.
Yeah, that's something that I think Billie definitely has down, is the visual aspect of her art is very well developed.
Her music videos as well. She's got a very
distinct aesthetic and style.
It's like the music video for Bury a Friend is fucking brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I like the one for, I don't like the one for You Should See Me in a Crown, because that's the one with spiders.
Oh, God. And, I mean, there's Bad Guy. Bad Guy got memed to hell, but it was good.
Oh, I love the Bad Guy memes.
Yeah.
I feel like they did an It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme with Danny saying, I'm the trash man.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
But it's actually a good song. I like most of it. I'm not a fan of like the sudden beat switch at the very end of the song, but other than that, I think it's pretty good.
I mean, I think
definitely showcases Billie's personality the best.
Yeah,
I would say. Just based on what I've seen in interviews, it's very juvenile in a good way. I would say it's that's not me trying to criticize it. It's just kind of got this playful and kind of mischievous vibe to it that I think is
definitely
very very true to her personality from what I've seen. And I don't know, this is a record that a lot of mainstream critics ate up, and
yeah.
I think it's probably top 3 chart wise. Like Billie Eilish is actually the first person born this
century,
millennium, I guess.
Yeah.
This century and millennium to have a #1 album.
Damn. I mean,
and it's been on the charts for a while. Like there was that whole DJ Khaled business where he got mad about her and Tyler the Creator beating his album out.
I mean, what does he do? Shouts his names on some songs.
Essentially, he's like kind of a curator, but he's not the most amazing at it.
I mean, that's who we could have the new member of Power Trio. We could just have a sample of DJ Khaled shouting DJ Khaled, and then there we go, third member.
We the best music. But,
we the best podcast.
Back to Billie. You know, I don't love the album. I've heard it a couple times since its release, and I've given it multiple shots. But you know, I've seen some people within like music communities that I'm a part of just not take to the album at all, kind of rip it apart almost.
I mean, I got drawn to it because of like the whole feel of her music and stuff, like, because pop's never interested me because I always just hear the same shit. I'm just like, it's all the same. But because this was different and she's like twisted it a bit and it's like menacing and dark and brooding, I was like, wow, this is actually real good stuff.
Yeah, she's and that's why I was gonna say about like her being on the charts this high, and you know,
yeah, exactly,
being such a huge presence. I think it's really cool. Even if I'm not a mega fan, I think she's kind of an unlikely and cool voice in pop music. It kind of breaks up the monotony, and that's something that is kind of exciting for me. I've noticed a lot of more interesting personalities and artists and styles are kind of breaking through into the mainstream this year.
Yeah.
The Old Town Road.
Oh god!
It just crossed into being the longest #1 U.S. single.
Oh really?
Of all time. Yeah, 17 weeks.
Shit, man.
On the #1 spot. Which is insane because it's literally his first song.
I mean,
he was
get a catchy hook in there.
X was a nobody before this song, and now he has the #1 single ever, which good for him. Like, you know, he seems like a cool guy.
I mean, like, it's not a good song or anything, like, at least in my opinion. It's just because it's got that hook, like, it just gets in everyone's heads.
And it's very, very easy to meme. I think it's a fun, you know, it's a fun thing.
Oh yeah, it is fun, definitely.
Yeah, it's not like, it's no masterpiece. It's not deep. It's dumb. But it's fun.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of what people want, which I'm fine with. It's better than that one Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber track skyrocketing to the top of the charts.
I don't even think I've heard that. Care. Yeah, I'm not an Ed Sheeran person. I don't care about anything he puts out.
Yeah, he literally put out a song called "I Don't Care" with Justin Bieber, and
I care.
I don't. It's just that, you know, it's the blandest thing. He released an album this month.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
It was just a series of collaborations.
Yeah, it was because I think on Wikipedia it's listed as a compilation album because of all the collaborations.
Yeah. Anyways, back to sort of our chronological thing. I think we didn't really actually talk a ton about the actual album. When we all fall asleep, where do we go? But, you know, like I said, I am not the biggest fan, but I like it. I think it's
I mean, I only caught the singles.
As an album. And I like quite a few songs on it. Like I said, I like Bad Guy a lot. Wish You Were Gay is, or like the hook is really good. Whether you want to get mad about, you know, the subject matter is, you know, your prerogative. I don't think there's much to be really all that worked up about.
Yeah.
I don't think it disrespects anything. But it's kind of that reverse. I refer to it as the reverse pink triangle.
I know, that's what was coming to my head then, was Pink Triangle by Weezer.
And it's actually a similar story, because in the story behind Pink Triangle, he saw the pink triangle on her backpack, Rivers Cuomo did, and he figured, oh, she's a lesbian. But apparently, he later found out that she was just expressing her support for LGBT, and she was actually straight. And with Wish You Were Gay, it turns out the guy the song's about is actually gay.
Oh, yeah, the reverse then.
Yeah, it kind of parallels. Billie Eilish is the new Weezer.
Confirmed. Weezer 2, Electric Boogaloo.
I wouldn't put it past Weezer to get her to try to collab with Billie Eilish.
Probably. Ratatouille 2.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of Weezer,
wait.
they released an album this year.
Yeah, actually, in chronological order, it was March, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess we skipped them a little bit.
Yeah.
But, we also skipped the Teal album, because they released 2 albums this year.
I didn't listen to the Teal one, because it's just covers, I'm not interested in that. But then they did the whole Africa thing. It started from like a meme, didn't it? And then they actually covered Africa.
I think it was like a 14-year-old girl on Twitter who's a big Weezer fan, just started an account dedicated to spamming Weezer about covering Africa.
And it worked.
And the first time they trolled them because Weezer covered Roseanne instead by Toto.
Yeah.
Which, same band. I think that's please yell at me if I didn't, if I got the song title wrong. I think it's Roseanne.
Yeah, I think it is as well.
But, I think it's actually Rosanna. But, and then a week later they gave in and covered Africa.
And then they made a whole freaking covers album and just dropped it on us like, hey, here it comes.
Because Africa gave them their first Billboard charting single since, was it Girl, If You're Wondering?
Maybe, yeah.
Did that chart?
It's because that album pretty much destroyed them. I wasn't really listening
to music avidly at that time.
Yeah.
But, so they were like, hey, that worked. And they released the covers album.
And then after that, they released an Abomination.
I want to talk about the Teal album a little bit. A lot of people were really mad about the Teal album.
Really?
To me, it's not worth getting mad over.
Yeah, it's just a covers album.
Yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect a Weezer covers album to be. It's a bunch of goofy 80s or dad rock songs.
They covered Take On Me, didn't they?
Yeah, Take On Me. It's Rivers Cuomo singing them, and
yeah,
everything you'd expect. Except for a surprisingly faithful Paranoid cover, because I think Brian Bell sings it instead.
Oh, right.
And yeah, it's actually maybe the heaviest Weezer song since Maladroit. But it's not really a Weezer song, it's a Black Sabbath song.
I might have to listen to that, considering Maladroit's my favourite Weezer album.
Yeah.
I just love heavy Weezer.
Black Sabbath, what a concept.
God damn. Shall we move on to it then?
Yes.
Shall we talk about it?
Album of the year. Black Album.
Oh, I love this thing. It's a masterpiece. It absolutely dumbfounded me upon first listen. Blew my mind. No, it didn't. It was absolutely dreadful.
I think they're doing some cool stuff nowadays, in the words of Matt Damon. One thing you've got to give it to Weezer. They know how to go along with a meme. It's amazing for how self-aware they are that they haven't released, that they released this.
Yeah.
The Black Album. I was optimistic going into the Black Album, believe it or not, because I'm an idiot. I haven't learned. This is clearly my first rodeo.
Because, I was expecting it almost after Pacific Daydream was such a letdown, and then they kept saying, the Black Album's going to be really dark, it's going to be personal, Pacific Daydream's the day, Black Album's the night, but it just wasn't. Black Album's like Pacific Daydream 2. Like, as soon as I heard Can't Knock the Hustle, I was like, oh dear God, no.
Funny thing,
Don't step to me, bitch.
I like Can't Knock the Hustle. It's like, as opposed to Pacific Daydream, it's kind of interesting, and it is actually a bit of a new sound for them, and it's not necessarily just, kind of the trying to pump out those summer bangers like on Pacific Daydream, though they do try to do that later on the album.
Yeah.
No, it was, it's got that Latin flair to it. You're gonna call me a fake fan, but who's the bassist for Weezer? What's his name again?
Oh my God, he's like the only one.
Oh, is it Scott?
Yeah, Scott. It's like, yeah, Scott.
Minor.
Because Brian's the guitar, Pat's drums.
Pat's on the drums.
Yeah, it is Scott, because they've changed bassists in their career. That's why it's confusing.
Twice, but yeah, that's why it's confusing. But he really pulls his weight on that song. I think the bass in that song is really good.
Yeah.
I like the backing vocals, like in the chorus. Can't Knock the Hustle. Woo! It's a good. That was a week, but those falsetto backing vocals are very. They're catchy. It kind of pops for me. And then after that, you've got the song "Zombie Bastards."
I really don't like this one.
To me, it almost sounds like Pacific Daydream done better. Which, if you don't like Pacific Daydream, you're still not gonna like it.
Yeah.
But, I thought it was an alright song. I thought it was pretty good. And then "High as a Kite."
I think that's the album's only saving grace. I think they should have just released that as a single and not made an album. Just High as a Kite. And even High as a Kite to me isn't that good. Like,
I don't know. Yeah, it's
the best of a bad bunch.
I feel like it would have been. It could have just been like on the White Album, to be honest. High as a Kite.
Or even Pacific Daydream, honestly, is like a bonus track or something.
Like say Pacific Daydream too. I think that's like, yeah, it's one of my favorite Weezer songs of this era.
Whatever this era is, like.
Yeah, are we dividing it? Like, they had the return to form with Everything Will Be Alright in the End and White Album, and now they're letting us down again.
Repeating history, yeah.
And yeah, I think you brought up an interesting point when we were talking earlier. You knew things were bad when they were already like talking about apology albums.
Yeah.
Before it got released.
It was like a couple days before Black Album. Yeah, they said.
And Weezer
and their orchestral one, they said there was 2 albums they're working on.
Piano-driven one. Not Only Human, Something Human.
It was like OK Human, wasn't it?
OK Human.
It was something like that.
Have you heard the Paranoid Android cover that they did a couple of years back?
No, I haven't actually. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh. I mean, that should have been on the Covers album.
Oh.
They did like a live studio cover of Paranoid Android.
Yeah.
And it's something. It's definitely something.
It sounds like it would be something.
It's like the instrumentation is surprisingly faithful, but then you've got Rivers Cuomo trying to sing in the same what's the word I'm looking for?
Same key register.
Same key or pitch as Tom York.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And he's got a very different pronunciation. So instead of, what's the, it's, what's dat?
What's dat? Oh, God.
It's very entertaining. But,
I'm gonna need to listen to this now.
This, I can't remember the title.
Van Weezer.
I thought it was actually a cheesy but kind of fun title. Was it like Stay Human or yeah?
It was something Human. Like that, yeah.
And it's kind of, he said it was going to be a quote unquote personal piano orchestral kind of album. And then there's Van Weezer, which is a guitar heavy, Van Halen Weezer crossover type thing, which sounds. I'm skeptical about those. I mean, I've learned my lesson. Skeptical about all Weezer albums from now on, because we said those first 3 tracks. I said those first 3 tracks I liked on Black Album, but after that, it's just downhill.
Yeah, it's not really worth even mentioning.
It's Pacific Daydream Part 2.
Yeah,
it's what.
Also, I just quickly looked it up, and I was right. It is OK Human. This other album. OK Computer Part 2.
I mean, if you're gonna take inspiration, Radiohead's not a bad place to get it from.
Okay. But, right, I think we've got to move on now, because we're already 35 minutes in. God damn.
Really?
Yeah.
Time flies.
So where are we going next? So April, there was Ian Brown, the frontman of Stone Roses, came back with his first solo album in 8 or 9 years or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, I think the last one was like 2010 or something. Yeah, he came back on the scene, sort of like quietly released this thing, and it got me thinking about the state of Britpop in 2019.
Yeah, because it's not a great album.
No, I mean, I think only the singles really popped out to me, like the title track Ripples, which is the name of the album, and
that was
First World Problems, that you didn't like, but I enjoyed First World Problems. It's just a nice little jam,
It's fine, but it goes on for way too long for me. I think he liked that hook a little too much.
Yeah.
More than but other than that, it was kind of middle of the road for me. It's fine. It's not really anything that
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm worried about with Britpop, because I was going to mention this later, but it's good to bring it up now. It's Liam Gallagher has come back this year and has released the lead single from his next album, Why Me, Why Not. The lead single is called Shockwave, and it's just what I expected. Like, if any of you know his other solo album, As You Were, it's just like Wall of Glass. It's just this sort of up-tempo single, like, led by some basic guitar chords.
Anthem kind of thing.
And with Liam just trying to sing still. Oh my god, like, a quick side note here. Did you watch any of Glastonbury Festival this year, Wes?
No, I didn't.
Because Liam's performance is terrible. His voice during the thing is like... I was literally stood in front of the TV like, what are you doing?
It must be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And you decided then and there, the Deer Hunter is my favorite band now.
Yeah. The DEAR Hunter, not the DEER.
Yeah. The Deer Hunter versus Deer Hunter.
We'll get to that later.
Later.
But yeah, Shockwave just...
He's released 3 singles from this thing now?
I think it is 3. It's Shockwave, The River, and I think there's another one. But
once. And I listened to all 3, at least in some capacity. And yeah, the 2 up-tempo rock leaning tracks, Shockwave and The River, are, they're kind of boring. They're him doing his Liam Gallagher thing without any kind of supervision.
Yeah.
And that's not a great place to be, but I actually kind of liked Once. I thought it was a decent enough ballad. And he wasn't straining himself too hard. It sounded fine on it. It's, sweet enough track.
Just the thing I worry about with that, and like Ian Brown as well, is like that some Britpop artists are sort of like, they're becoming a bit stale. They're just redoing the same thing. And like I said, the same thing's happening with Liam's new album that I said with As You Were, which is he's trying to sound like a cheap imitation of Oasis, but he's forgetting that he was never the main writer. The person that made Oasis sound Oasis was Noel. He wrote 90% of the songs.
Right.
And Liam just trying to, like, go back to that is just painful to watch, and that's why I don't like his solo material. He was much better in BDI. I wish he kept that band together, because they
I
only
haven't
released.
listened to any BDI stuff.
If you're gonna listen to, they only released 2 albums. Listen to the second one, that's just titled BE, and that's a fucking brilliant album. The best thing Liam's done.
Is that the one with the boob on it?
Yeah, it's the one with the boob on it.
That's like the only thing I know BDI for.
Yeah. But,
that and Liam Gallagher.
That's the best thing Liam did post Oasis, and I don't know why he's not trying to sound like that in his solo career, because that was so much better. I loved BDI, and I was actually real upset when they split up, because again, Liam can't stay in a band for more than 5 minutes without being like, "Hey, lads, I'm gonna leave now."
His Manchester accent. But the yeah, I mean, Britpop has not been really the zeitgeist, at least from my perspective as an American. I mean, it's
still
been
prevalent
since the 90s,
here,
but it's, I mean, because Britpop is weird, because like it's, if you break it down, it's just British pop.
Yeah, it's what happened to us in the 90s.
Like Rita Ora or Rina Sawayama, or pop artists from England are British pop, but I think it kind of refers to that rock.
Yeah, that like cheeky rock sound almost,
That very definitively British, like Blur, Park Life.
Yeah, it's and because Oasis, everyone in England knows who Oasis are, literally everyone, and because of that, because Liam's still riding off the fame of Oasis, all the singles he released get played in the mainstream, and As You Were went to #1 in England. So he's still prevalent, and which means Britpop is still prevalent. And it is, back in 2015 when Blur released The Magic Whip, their comeback album, that went to #1 too. So we still like it here. But I think the saving grace is
kind of like when a big rock band over here kind of releases an album, I can't even think of any examples.
Foo Fighters?
Or like when Jack White or
Jack White,
Black Keys release an album. They usually get a pretty good amount of success. You might not see them played on mainstream radio, but still gets attention.
And I think the thing that's going to propel Britpop into the future is change. They need to change. Noel Gallagher's off doing his own thing. He's doing interesting stuff. I loved Who Built the Moon, his last album, and his recent Black Star Dancing EP, where he dipped his toes into disco and dance. I thought that was fucking brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah, but it's almost like a point of, it's almost not Britpop at that point anymore, because it's
but these bands are still,
Noel Gallagher's, he's a former Britpop artist, kind of flirting with psychedelic music.
I think the best,
that's the vibe I got on Who Built the Moon.
Yeah, the best example of someone that's still moving forward with Britpop is Suede, because they broke up early 2000s, and then they got back together in 2010 or something. Now they released a comeback album in 2013, Bloodsport, which was real good. It was Suede at the core. And then their next 2 albums, which were Night Thoughts, 2016 was Night Thoughts, and their most recent one, which is the one that made me think about this, The Blue Hour, they've taken Britpop and they've matured it in a really good way that's still enjoyable. The Blue Hour is a brilliant album. It was one of my top 10s, I think, or top 15s for 2018. Suede do a really good job at it.
I think, and I think we could definitely go deeper on the subject of Britpop, at another point. Get another Brit or something in on that.
Yeah. But I think we're gonna have to move on again soon.
Yeah. As far as, we might have to split this up into 2 parts.
I mean, I think it's okay. I want to move on to Black Keys next.
I feel like we might be skipping stuff though.
Oh, we skipped King
we
Giz.
can hop around. The chronological thing, like it was just a
Yeah, I wanted to
get us
just
going.
do a quick thing into the Black Keys because there's not really much to talk about. Like 5 years of nothing, and then they came back with like Brothers 2, the safest thing they could have ever done.
Right.
Which was real disappointing because Turn Blue, my favorite album by them, the experimentation on that was incredible. Like because they finally, like their first 7 albums was just like they were sort of just doing the same thing but developing it a bit more. And then on Turn Blue, they just went crazy. They went. I
think El Camino was kind of a stepping stone too. I think it was like that was almost like pop. It was not pop rock necessarily.
It was more accessible.
They definitely emphasized hooks a lot more. It was much punchier production. Yeah. Was that their first time working with Danger Mouse?
No, it was their second. The first time they worked was one of the singles on Brothers. They worked with him, which was Tighten Up.
Oh, the big one, right? Yeah, Tighten Up. Yeah. Yeah, El Camino, and then Turn Blue.
Turn Blue, man.
Where they kind of took a turn into psychedelia.
Yeah, like the opener, Weight of Love, which is probably my favorite Black Keys song. Like, Dan, the guitarist, he's like, it's almost Pink Floyd-esque, that final guitar solo. It's brilliant. And he uses a lot of high register vocals on that album as well, which was interesting.
Yeah, I think they just kind of got scared because critics hated that thing.
I know, which is so disappointing because it's made them come back so safe, and I'm honestly so disappointed because I really wanted them to carry on down the road of Turn Blue, but
I think they could do that along the road, but I think after 5 years they kind of wanted to just like have a surefire hit with their fans, which I think Let's Rock kind of is. I think it's from someone who's not the most invested in the Black Keys. I thought it's one of those records that I enjoy while I have it on and I can jam out to it, but afterwards it's not. I don't really think about it a lot.
Yeah.
It's very much kind of this straightforward rock album. There's not much to it. And if that's what you're looking for, then great. You'll definitely be happy with it. But yeah, if you're looking for anything more, it's probably not. You're probably looking in the wrong place.
Okay, and then, so I think the last thing to mention before we move on to what we're anticipating this year is we've got to address King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Which ties right into that.
Yeah, also, so their first album this year, April, Fishing for Fishies, first since their hiatus last year. Didn't release
quote, unquote,
anything.
Hiatus, which is really
5 albums, 2017.
It's an eternity for King Gizzard, but like it's normal for other bands.
Yeah, I mean,
it was 2 years in between albums. Child's play.
It was
releasing 5 albums in a year.
It was a really odd release cycle for Fishing for Fishies because like they were silent the whole of 2018. 2019 comes and then they release Psy Boogie,
which is a trip.
Yeah, that's a fucking song. And everyone was like, oh my god, King Gizzard electronic album, holy shit. But then they released Fishing for Fishies, the single, and
it's like
it got flipped.
Full twee? That's probably the worst the word.
Flipped on its head with lyrics about overfishing, you know?
Yeah. And, yeah. And it was even more confusing because, you know, they released that Boogeyman Sam, which was, I think it's probably the most indicative of the actual album in between those two, because Psy Boogie and Fishing for Fishies, those are the bookends. The album starts with Fishing for Fishies, ends on Psy Boogie. But a lot of it in between sounds very much like Boogeyman Sam, which is kind of this bluesy, you know, boogie.
That's what I was going to say. Like, when the album actually came out and I sat down and listened to it, I was expecting more stuff like Psy Boogie, but like you said, out of like, 9 tracks, literally like 7 or 8 are like folky, sort of, they go for like southern rock, sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of this bluesy...
ZZ Top.
But it's very groovy, kind of rock music.
I mean, the lyrics are... It's all about like environmental issues. Because like I was sitting there reading them in the booklet for the CD, and I was just like, because like I didn't understand what he was saying half the time. You know, good old Stu.
Yeah, you know Stu. Yeah, he's kind of got that weird tone to his voice, but
and then it ends on Cyboogie, but oddly Cyboogie just fits in, like it what's the song before it? It kind of like goes into it because there's a bit of synths in the song before.
Acarine.
Yeah, I like
song
that
goes
song.
into it because Acarine kind of starts. It's definitely on the weirder end of their whole boogie concept and the kind of bluesy style they had carved out, but what I think is good about it is it kind of, towards the end, it transitions to a more electronic sound.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Yeah, Cyboogie just fits, which is so odd, and that's one of the great things about King Gizzard is they can just do any fucking genre they want, and they just good.
And a testament to that is, like, you know, 2 weeks or so before Fishing for Fishies came out, they
released a thrash metal
Planet
track
B, with no context, and it's just a straight up thrash metal song.
And it's like,
and now, and we're left to think, is this supposed to be on the same album?
And now we can segue perfectly into the second section of this podcast, what we're excited for this year, because lo and behold, after 2 singles, they announce another album this year, which is coming out next month in August.
Infest the Rat's Nest, which is they're finally making a straight up metal album.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be more excited for a King Gizzard album because I love, I like Fishing for Fishies. I like their other like kind of folksy one, Paper Mache Dream Balloon. But I think King Gizzard are at their best when they're just like
going for it,
mind, chaotic, insane, loud stuff. So a metal album perfectly fits that. And I'd like to mention, like, before we go into the anticipation part, there's a ton of stuff that, we've listened to or I've listened to that we're kind of not mentioning. And
we'd be here for like 5 hours.
Later down the line. But, anyways, back to the anticipations, because we're running short on time.
You've got some, what is it, August 16th is your day, so...
Yeah, so let's start there. Infest the Rat's Nest. I know exactly what I'm getting into with that record. It's a King Gizzard metal album. I've heard two of the singles, Planet B and Self-Immolate. The latter of the two is just this rager that I can't get enough of. So this album's just such an easy win for me. Like, I know exactly what I'm getting, but I don't care. It's going to be great. And I can't wait for it. But on that same day, we've got a band that I've always thought was very similar to King Gizzard.
Oh, very similar.
The OCs. Sort of that same garage noise.
And they've got 2 drummers as well, like King Gizzard.
And then, they're equally as prolific. And then...
Yeah, they're releasing
also on that same day, we've got Sleater-Kinney, one of the most famous and legendary female groups in rock. The album's called The Center Won't Hold, and it's something that I'm nervously excited for because I don't know that you ever listen to them or have the context, but they're a trio of 3 women. The most famous of whom is Carrie Brownstein. She actually did a comedy show with Fred Armisen for like years called Portlandia. But they're back with this album, and last month they announced that their drummer is leaving.
Oh,
the band.
Damn, so, that's a bombshell.
Yeah, she performed on this record, but it's weird because last month she said that she was leaving partly because of the new direction. So that's a bit foreboding, but I liked the first single on it, the Hurry On Home. It's very, it's got this futuristic sound, but it's also very heavy sounding and in your face, like a Sleater-Kinney song should be. Second song, I did not care for at all. The Future Is Here. So yeah, I don't know how to feel about this new one. Saint Vincent is producing. She's another acclaimed female artist who is, especially this decade, really carved out a name for herself. And so yeah, I'm very interested in this record. I hope it's good.
Yeah.
I think it could be, but fingers crossed.
So yeah, for me, I've got one I'm excited for, which is we're gonna have to go backwards a week to August 9th. But Feeder, a band very close to my heart, Welsh alternative rock, famous for their song Buck Rogers, releasing their 10th, I believe, studio album, Tallulah, which I also believe is their first ever concept album. It's got a story in it, yeah. It's about the life of like a female rock star in modern times or something, sung through the perspective of this woman, whoever she is. I'm guessing Tallulah. But it's interesting because their last album, 2016's All Bright Electric, was one of my favourites by them because they changed up their direction and went for a heavier, more interesting sound than they usually go for. But judging from the singles on Tallulah, they've sort of gone back to their safe, more upbeat sort of sound, which I like because I love the band. I love everything they've done. But I'm interested to see where the rest of it goes because the two singles they've released have been very upbeat. The first single, Fear of Flying, is really good. It's got a great hook in the chorus. And then the second...
that's always good.
Oh, did you listen to it?
No, a great hook is always good.
Oh, I thought you said, it was good. But no, and then the second single, Youth, which is the album opener, is very upbeat and like summer vibes, so it might be my summer track, who knows. But yeah, so I guess we move forward again. What else is in August?
Bon Iver's also dropping that month. Taylor Swift, I know you're excited for that one.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna listen to it at all and just ignore its existence. And I think we've got to talk about the big one.
It's increasingly easy to do because she hasn't gotten a number one off of this album, which is like baffling for Taylor Swift. She's pop royalty.
Yeah.
But what I know for a fact that you are legitimately excited about, and I'm even legitimately
the big one. I think the world, the music scene is just excited for this because it was a myth for so long. Like it was almost like
I'm just sad the meme is over.
Yeah, it was almost like music urban legend, wasn't it?
Fear Inoculum, Tool, dropping on
August 30th.
August 30th.
Yeah. Their fifth and long-awaited studio album, 13 years in the making. Jesus Christ.
There have been longer waits, but I don't think by a band that is
so big.
Active.
Yeah.
Like, there's, bands who have gone on hiatus and then come back.
But they weren't on hiatus.
At the time. But Tool have not been frozen or broken up or on hiatus. They've been insisting that they've been working on it for like 6 years.
Yeah, it's because they got... I think the original reason was they got caught up in like some legal battles between like a label or a manager with 10,000 days or something.
And they couldn't record for a while until they got it resolved.
And then Maynard's been going around with like A Perfect Circle and his other band, I forgot the name of.
Lucifer.
Yeah, that one.
But yeah, and then...
But it's finally here. It exists and it has a name, but there's been no singles or pre-orders available or even an album cover.
They have played 2 new songs live.
Yeah, but they said that those 2 new songs sound drastically different on the album.
Yeah, they sound pretty Tool when I listened to some recording.
Watch Tool just drop a country album.
They were called... One's Invincible and the other is called... I can't remember. We'll find out.
Yeah, it'd be great because they just haven't released any singles. It just turns out like it's a country album with Billy Ray Cyrus,
Lil Nas X.
I mean, I've seen pictures of Maynard wearing cowboy hats, so who knows?
That doesn't mean anything. He's come out on the stage covered in blue or dressed in drag before, like.
Yeah, he's just doing what he does.
I think something that I've lost my train of thought.
Shall we just skip forwards again?
I wanted to say something else about Tool. Oh, they're putting all their albums on streaming.
Oh yes, finally.
This Friday, I should clarify, we're talking about this on Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 31st of July, 2019.
Right.
Is when we're recording this.
And so, yeah, all 4 of their studio albums and Opiate, I think, are all going to be on streaming services. And a lot of people are theorizing that they're also going to release the single for this album.
Ah.
So, it would be a smart move. But another smart move would have been to put your music on streaming services long before now.
Yeah.
It's never too late. So yeah, that's exciting for many reasons.
Yeah.
If only so that the meme can die and finally rest.
So I guess
it's going to be big, whether it's disappointing or... I mean, there's no way it can really live up to the hype.
Yeah, no. It's going to be like a Half-Life 3, sort of thing.
Except it's going to come out.
Yeah, except it actually exists.
I think it'll be good.
Yeah. But shall we move on to September? I've only got one, I think, that I'm looking forward to for September.
Yeah, sure.
So I think it's September 9th or something like that. We've got KO Dot, post-rock / metal, led by Brainchild, of Toby Driver, who any metal / prog metal elitists watching this would know from Maudlin of the Well was his original band.
Right.
But yeah, I think this is their 9th, KO Dot's 9th studio album. It's called Blasphemy. It's coming out. They released a single called A Prophecy, I think, and it was pretty good. Toby Driver's gone for somewhere different vocally on this album. And yeah, there was something else I was going to say about it, but it's completely gone from my head.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah.
KO Dot is I've only heard one album by them, Choirs of the Eye, but
that's the quintessential album of theirs, really.
But so yeah, should be an interesting.
I mean, in their later releases, they dabbled a bit more in electronics, so I wonder if this album's going to be the same. Like their previous album.
I think as far as the stuff that's set in stone, I've really mentioned everything that I'm super excited for.
Just August, I mean, there's still going to be more stuff announced. That's the thing, because stuff gets announced
there's
late
a ton
in the
of
year.
Artists that have said that they have projects coming this year, but haven't made like a full album announcement. I like I said earlier, you're not the biggest hip hop fan, but Danny Brown and Brockhampton are both artists that have projects that are up in the air. Brockhampton have an album called Ginger that's supposedly coming out in August. And then Danny Brown, You Know What I'm Saying. I should clarify that Danny Brown's last album, Atrocity Exhibition, is, in my eyes, a 10 out of 10.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one. That name being thrown around a lot.
It's this very experimental, wild album. But apparently, he said he's gonna be making dad rap on this.
Dad rap.
Kind of more laid. I don't know if he means laid back or more classic sounding. But Danny Brown, he's a consistently crazy artist, so I'm looking forward to it. He's one of my favorites. And as far as actual within our area of expertise, we've got Tame Impala.
Have they? Yeah.
To announce that album.
Yeah. Seems to go up every time, doesn't it? It's like, was there 2 years between Inner Speaker and?
Three between Lonerism and Currents, and then now it's 4.
It's been 4. So come on,
Granted,
Kevin.
releases it sometime this year. We've got 2 singles, Patience and Borderline. The first of which I I've grown to love. I think Borderline's pretty good. Nothing special to me.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think the only other.
I wanted the new Tame Impala to be a summer album, but the window's closing on
yeah, it's closing fast too. But I think the only other release I've got that I'm excited for this year is coming October, and it's by crazy artists, sort of glam rock revivalists, if you will, The Darkness, who attained prevalence in the early 2000s with I Believe in a Thing Called Love. And honestly, yeah, I just love them. I've seen them live twice. Like, they were the first band I ever saw live. Crazy live act. They're brilliant. They've got a lot of humor in themselves, and they're releasing their 6th studio album this year called Easter is Cancelled, which is releasing in October, which is weird. They announced it back in April. Haven't released any singles yet, but I've pre-ordered it, so I'm going to have to live with what I get.
Right.
I think that's it for releases I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff I know about, but I think the stuff I'm really excited for that exists.
Basically all in August. Like.
Yeah, I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, as far as stuff that we have common ground with, we've covered, I think, pretty much all of it. So yeah. That's the first episode back. A bit of a mess, but hopefully you guys get a kick out of it.
Yeah, this is just what we do.
And we'll be back, hopefully,
soon.
Before
not
7 months.
Not like 9-7 months. We're going to try and get guests on to fulfill the name Power Trio. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed our 2nd ever podcast, and hope you stick with us for future episodes. But for now, I have been Charlie.
I have been Wes, and hopefully will continue to be.
And we have been Power Duo/Trio. And we'll be sure to see all you guys next time.
Absolutely. Alright. Have a good one.
Peace out, guys.